Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Thurston County Annual Swearing-In Ceremony. I'm Mary Hall, your Thurston County Auditor, and it's my privilege to be your Master of Ceremonies today and swear in our new and returning elected officials. We're going to begin today with the flag ceremony, and we're pleased to have the very distinguished Thurston County Sheriff's Color Guard with us today, and Sheriff Snaza, who's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Could you please rise?
If you could please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sheriff Snaza, and thank you, Color Guard. It's now my pleasure to introduce Reverend Joan Cathy. You can seat for a moment, who will lead us in an invocation. Joan is an ordained Presbyterian minister who's also currently serving her third term on the Tumwater City Council. She came to Thurston County in 1992 as a campus minister at the Evergreen State College from Carmel, California, where she was pastor of Carmel Presbyterian Church. Joan also served on the school board in Carmel, where she was a school board representative to the Carmel City Council prior to Clint Eastwood becoming mayor. So you're buddies, right? Joan is a retreat leader, conference and motivational speaker, book lover, and a proud public servant. So will you please rise?
Actually, you don't need to stand for this. I'd like you to sit down. I'm just here to see what kind of condition you're in. And just to answer a question that many people have asked me after Mary has made that introduction, yes, I do know Clint Eastwood. I stand before you today in a long tradition of shamans, and a long tradition of chiefs and ministers and rabbis and priests, and of common people who took a stand for what they believe in. I stand here today, privileged to be the one that does an invocation, which has been done down through the ages. And what it is it's an invitation. It's an invitation in the midst of community, wherever it is, and whatever we believe, and whatever we need yet to do. It is an invitation to come together and hear again what it is that we say we believe in, to look at our creeds, to look at the words we use, to look at the songs we sing, to look at the pledges we make, and say in our community, am I ready? Am I brave? Am I free? And so today, this invitation is also a call to every single person who's here, to all of those that are going to stand once again and take an oath or a pledge, and to every person here who knows what it is to be called to something important, to something beyond yourself, to a profession, to the raising of children, to the teaching of school, to whatever it is that you have given your life. And so, in the long tradition of storytellers, you know our story, some of it, and Mary never gives me enough time to retell it. But I will tell you that I am wearing, this is Seminole Indian patchwork. This was made for me by a Native American person, and this is the symbol that in the Seminole Indian tribe, whenever they were going to tell a story, the female, usually, storyteller draped this on and began to tell the story of their tribe, of what was important to them. And I'm here today to just simply read from some sacred texts, the texts of our Constitution, the text of our Pledge of Allegiance, the text of the songs we sing, and say, are we ready? Do we still believe in this kind of democracy? Because our call today is to take what we say and we sing and turn it into what we do. So when we leave a gathering like this, what we have done is we have said, our lives every single day are going to be the doing and the definition of democracy. And our text read, all people are created equal. All people across our land have the inalienable right of liberty, life, the pursuit of happiness. All people are created equal. I pledge allegiance to the republic, to the democrat, to the democracy. I pledge allegiance to that democracy, and there I stand with liberty and justice for all. And we sing, we live in the land of the free. And I pray, God, we are the brave who make that possible. And finally, we sing one of the songs, America, America, God. Whatever your image of God is, the Great Spirit, the Great One who created all. America, America, God shed God's grace onto you. Grace. Is there any greatness without grace? And crowned our good. Oh, what a gift. Crowned our good, and what with? Sisterhood and brotherhood and personhood that will be seen from sea to shining sea. I invite you today, in this moment in time, to look at the words we say as Americans, elected or simply doing the electing. Democracy. Let our lives define that word in what we do. America, America, God shed God's grace on us, look at us, and crowned our good with sister and brotherhood. from this sea to the shining sea, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Wow. Thank you, Reverend Kathy, for those wonderful words and message. Before we go any further, I'd like to thank a few people. Events like this don't happen without a dedicated team of staff. So I'd like to thank my elections manager, Tilly Naputi-Puller, and my entire election staff from the auditor's office. And a special thanks to Lynette Thornton for organizing this event. I also want to thank South Puget Sound Community College, who allows us to utilize this facilities free of charge. It's a wonderful facility, so please join me in thanking these folks today. We're also pleased to have a number of elected officials attending today's ceremony. So when I read your name, please stand and be recognized. Some of you will also be being sworn in today. Tumwater Mayor Pete Komet. And if you could hold your applause, we'll go through it a lot quicker. John O'Callahan from Tenino, City Council member. Thurston County Commissioner Bud Blake and Thurston County Commissioner John Hutchings. Our keynote speaker, Honorable Denny Heck. And we just heard from Joan Cathy from Tumwater City Council. Michael Adhauser, Tumwater City Council. Brandon Faust, Fire District 6. John Snaza, of course, our sheriff. Lacey Mayor Andy Ryder. Councilmember Michael Stedman. Olympia Council Member Clark Gilman. Fire Commissioner David Shepard. Of course, our Insurance Commissioner Mike Kreidler, who will be speaking to us in a moment. And our Prosecuting Attorney, John Thunheim. And then, of course, our Thurston County Sheriff. Thurston County Treasurer. I almost gave you two jobs, Jeff. Jeff Gadman. So today is a day of recognition, commitment, and celebration. In front of our families and friends and in public, this is a day in which we take an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington. We swear to do our job as elected officials to the best of our abilities. The oaths you will take today are the minimal obligation. In order to be successful public officials, we must do more. We need to be leaders. We must take office with a goal to work together and solve problems. We must be willing to make the hard decisions and hold ourselves to the highest standards of transparency, integrity, and ethics. Holding elected office is similar to a long-term relationship. The hard work of making a relationship succeed is in the day-to-day and in the sacrifices and compromises necessary for it to prosper. The hard work of being an elected official is no different. Each day we must focus on how we can do our job better for those we serve. In addition to the oath you are taking today, I encourage you to make a pledge to yourself and to the others in this room that you will work every day to not only uphold your oath, but to go the extra mile for our citizens. Today's oath is really only the first step. So congratulations on your election and your re-election to office, and thank you for your willingness to serve. Now I'm honored to welcome a very special honorary speaker, Insurance Commissioner Mike Kreidler. And earlier, I compared being a successful elected official to a successful long-term relationship. And recently, Mike and his wife, Leela, celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. So congratulations, Mike and Leela. Mike is Washington's 8th insurance commissioner, first elected in 2000 and re-elected to his 5th term in 2016. Commissioner Kreidler has earned a reputation as both a staunch advocate for consumers and a fair and balanced regulator. Prior to serving as commissioner, he served 16 years in the state legislature, first as a representative and then senator. He was later elected to Congress in 1992. In 1998, he was appointed regional director for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Region 10 office in Seattle. He served in that post until elected in the year 2000. Since 2007, Commissioner Kreidler has chaired the National Association of Insurance Commissioners Climate Change and Global Warming Group. He led a successful push for insurers to disclose how they are preparing for the potential risks associated with climate change. A doctor of optometry, he practiced at Group Health Cooperative in Olympia for 20 years. He holds a master's degree in public health from UCLA, and Mike retired from the Army Reserves as a lieutenant colonel after 20 years of service. He is the most tenured insurance commissioner in the country, providing leadership that spans from healthcare reform to climate change. In his spare time, Mike and Leela enjoy spending time with their 3 children and 3 grandchildren, which includes attending a lot of soccer games, I hear. So I'd like to welcome Mike Kreidler.
Thank you very much, Mary. You know, it doesn't seem that long ago, but 44 years ago, I was in my first month as an elected official here in Thurston County as a school board member for North Thurston. And I look back on that service over the years, not the least of which was I was elected shortly thereafter to the legislature and had as a seatmate Denny Heck, which was a great experience. Since he was a recent Evergreen graduate, and if I had any doubts about how vigorously I should defend Evergreen, he quickly made that clear to me that it had to be very vigorous, not that it had to be told to me. One of the things that as I look at public service, and Mary, you said it very well, and that is we're here for service to the people. And it certainly isn't to get rich. It certainly isn't from the standpoint of self-aggrandizement. It is really from the standpoint of what we can do for the people to help provide the kind of representation that they need as citizens of this good county of ours, much as our good state, going forward. And that's the real challenge for all of us, is to be able to reach out to our constituents, and every day we have the pleasure and the honor of representing people in our respective jurisdictions. It is an opportunity to, again, make sure that you should fully appreciate, and it is conveyed to them that you are there to represent them. I certainly feel that way about being a very vigorous representative of the people in dealing with the matters around insurance. But that's my latest incarnation right now, as Mary went through the whole list there. It is an opportunity to have represented people in many different roles, but none really matters quite as much as the one I have right now. Not the least of which is because there are major challenges that we're facing with the implementation of affordable, uniform, universal health insurance for the people of our respective county, but state, and for our nation. And as insurance commissioners, because of the nature of the reform that was enacted, our real task right now is to make sure that we're enacting it in such a way that it really does benefit the people in having a competitive insurance environment in our respective jurisdiction, mine being the state of Washington, so that you have competition among insurance companies on a level playing field, that they don't disabuse policyholders by trying to avoid people with medical problems and trying to only insure the well, at the expense of the sick. And that's a challenge, and that's what I focus on extensively right now. But I should tell you, Mary mentioned that I wound up picking up a master's in public health a number of years ago now at UCLA. And I really believed at that point that we were going to be implementing affordable health care at that time under Richard Nixon. And I went to UCLA to get that master's in public health, and I already was a doctor of optometry, had completed 2 years my doctor's draft obligation in the United States Army as an Army officer, and I really look forward to that opportunity. We obviously didn't achieve it then, but we're getting much closer right now, and thank goodness for people who are strongly representing us like Denny Heck, who are there looking out for our interests at the national level and making sure every member of Congress understands, much less it's understood by the people of his respective district, just how important it is that we make sure that people really understand that having quality, affordable health insurance is a critical value to each and every one of us. There was a poll that was just completed, and I just saw it on today's news. The number one issue for the 2018, they're projecting, it's a long way to the elections in 18, but at the same time, the number one issue is going to be health care. We're just really lucky to have somebody in Congress representing us who understand it so completely and faithfully going forward. But that said, again, it is really coming back to us, whether it's people like Denny Heck representing us in Congress, or Mike Kreidler as insurance commissioner, or each and every one of you, or me as a school board member 44 years ago, 1 month into my job. It's there to help people, represent them, make sure they have a voice, make sure they're heard, make sure we're carrying on in the finest tradition of what can be done to represent the will of the people that we represent. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. We value your lifetime of service to our community and the incredible impact that that's had. So thank you for being an inspiration to me and to so many of our elected officials here in Thurston County. So now we'll go ahead and we're going to get started with the swearing in of our elected officials. And we do this by groups. So we have a couple, we'll swear in the treasurer first. Then when we call out, say the City of Olympia, for example, all of those candidates in the City of Olympia will come up at one time. So once you've completed the swearing in, you'll come up on this side of the stage. Then you'll proceed to this table over here, sign your oath of office, and we will give you your official certificate. So it is my pleasure to call Thurston County Treasurer Jeff Gadman.
Jeff Gadman,
Do solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the State of Washington, and that I will faithfully and impartially perform and discharge the duties of the office of County Treasurer according to law to the best of my ability.
Okay. I will mic it. And if I could have the Port of Olympia commissioners come to the stage, please. solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington. And the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington. And that I will faithfully and impartially. Perform and discharge the duties. Of the office of Commissioner. Court of Olympia. According to law, to the best of my ability.
Can you use the microphone?
I will try my best. Could I have the City of Lacey officials, please? When I say, state your name, that means that you'll say I and then your name. Okay? And raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Michael Stedman,
Do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington,
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and I will faithfully and impartially
perform and discharge the duties
perform and discharge the duties
of the office
of the office
of, state your office.
Of council member.
Okay.
Position 6.
Whatever you want to be.
I was thinking you were mayor. No, I'm sorry. Okay, according to law, to the best of my ability.
According to law, to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations. Congratulations, everybody.
You bet. Could the City of Olympia elected officials come to the stage, please?
This is required.
Okay. So do you have the drill? When I say state your name, you'll state your name, okay? You raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Clark Gilman,
Do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington,
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and that I will faithfully and impartially
perform and discharge the duties
perform and discharge the duties
of the office of City Council
of the office of City Council
according to law to the best of my ability.
according to law to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor.
Congratulations. I have the City of Tenino. John. I, John O'Callahan,
I, John O'Callahan,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will protect and defend
that I will protect and defend
the Constitution of the United
the
States
Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution and laws of the State of
the
Washington,
Constitution and laws of the State of Washington,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and I will faithfully and impartially
perform and discharge the duties
perform and discharge the duties
of the office of City Council
of the office of City Council
according to law to the best of my ability.
according to law to the best of my ability.
Okay, and if I could have the Tumwater mayor come to the stage, please. We're going to do this mayor first and then city council members. Raise your right hand. I, Pete Komet,
I, Pete Komet,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of the State of Washington,
and the Constitution and laws of the State of Washington,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and that I will faithfully and impartially
perform and discharge the duties
perform and discharge the duties
of the office of mayor
of the office of mayor
according to law to the best of my ability.
according to law to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Could I have the Olympia School District Director come to the stage, please? So I'm going to say I, state your name, and you're going to list your name. And raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Scott Cliffhorn,
Do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of the State of Washington,
and the Constitution and laws of the State of Washington,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and that I will faithfully and impartially
perform and discharge the duties
perform and discharge the duties
of the office of School Board Director
of the office of School Board Director
according to law to the best of my ability.
according to law to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Could I have the Tumwater City Council members? Got this a little out of order. Thank you.
I thought it was just me and the mayor. I was getting
You're on your own, Joan. I state your name.
I, Debbie Sullivan,
Do solemnly affirm
solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of the State of Washington,
and the Constitution and laws of the State of Washington,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and I will faithfully and impartially
perform and discharge the duties
perform and discharge the duties
of the office of City Council
of the office of City Council
according to law to the best of my ability.
according to law to the best of my ability. Thank you.
I'd like to call all the fire district commissioners to the stage. Yes. So when I say state your name, you'll state your name, and then okay. I state your name. Do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the State of Washington, and that I will faithfully and impartially perform and discharge the duties of the office of Fire Commissioner according to law to the best of my abilities. All right, congratulations. Congratulations. Stepping up in the world, huh? Good for you. Thank you. Hi. Congratulations. Congratulations. You bet. You bet. Our Tanglewold Park and Rec District commissioners here. I, Carlos Bonet,
I, Carlos Bonilla,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution and laws of the State of Washington,
the Constitution and the laws of the State of Washington,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
faithfully and impartially
perform and discharge the duties
perform and discharge the duties
of the office of
of
Tanglewold, Tanglewold Commissioner, according to law to the best of my ability.
according to law and the best of my ability.
Is there any office I forgot? Congratulations to all of you and for stepping up and your willingness to serve. We're honored to have Congressman Denny Heck join us today as our keynote speaker. Since 2012, Denny Heck has proudly represented Washington's 10th Congressional District in the U.S. House of Representatives, where he serves on the Financial Services Committee and the ever-important House Intelligence Committee. In Washington, D.C., he's been a vocal advocate for military families and veterans, as well as for health and natural beauty of Puget Sound. Before Congress, he served in the State House of Representatives for nearly a decade, including time as the House Majority Leader and Chief of Staff to Governor Booth Gardner. In addition, he owned a small business that grew to create hundreds of jobs, invested in a company that pioneered streaming media on the internet, and of course founded TVW. It would be an understatement to say Denny Heck has devoted his career in government, giving us everything he's got. It's a great honor to introduce my Congressman, Denny Heck.
Thank you, Mary. I have to tell you, at this point, it seems a little anticlimactic, having already issued you all your certificates of election. So lest it go without saying, congratulations to each and every one of you, and thank you for your service. What is often not mentioned in these ceremonies is the expression of gratitude to the members of your family, because those of us who have served know that it impacts more than just the office holder. So I extend my gratitude to each and every one of you. It's an honor for me to be back here today, as I have now, I think, 2 or 3 or 4 years running, and to celebrate this day with you. Again, congratulations. One of my favorite books is Green Eggs and Ham. Indeed, I think Dr. Seuss, AKA Theodore Geisel, was a genius. And I read Green Eggs and Ham in absolutely every school classroom that will let me in and allow me to do it, because nothing lifts my spirits like that book. There's another one of Dr. Seuss's books, however, that I find apropos for today's ceremony, and that is, Oh, the Places You'll Go. I actually think it's a story about public service, because if there's anything I've learned along the way, it's that this job is full of surprises. Some of them are amazing, some of them are poignant, and some of them are, frankly, downright heartbreaking. I could never have imagined, for example, on November 8th, 2012, when I was first elected to this position, that I would one day visit in the hospital, as I did last Saturday, an 18-year-old girl, a brave 18-year-old girl, who had suffered a severe concussion, a broken hip, shattered pelvis bones, and spinal injuries, when her body was thrown to and fro within the train that had derailed at 79 miles per hour. But for the record, she's doing very well. I could never have imagined on November 8th, 2012, when I was first elected to this position, that my duty would include walking the 1 mile behind the caisson carrying the body of Sergeant Brian Black to his final resting place in Arlington Cemetery. Sergeant Black was a constituent of mine, of course. He lived in Puyallup and was killed in Niger in October. And he leaves behind his widow, Michelle, and his 2 very young children, Ezekiel or Zeke and Isaac. I could have never imagined when I was first elected on November 8th, 2012, that it would eventually be my responsibility to question both the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the head of the National Security Agency about Russian interference in our elections. Finally, I could have never imagined when I was very first elected in November of 1976 to the State House of Representatives that I would take my oath standing right next to a man who would become my lifelong friend. Yes, Mike Kreidler. His real name is Myron Bradford Kreidler, let the record show. And oh, by the way, that unbelievable woman that has been putting up with him for 50 years, is a former state senator in her own right, and she deserves acknowledgement today. Leila Kreidler, please stand up. So none of these circumstances or events that I've suggested to you were in the least bit predictable, because life is unpredictable. And so is this job, and so is the job some of you are now being reelected to or elected to for the first time. But the important part is that the people are counting on you. The people are counting on you. And yes, that includes the family members here today, but it includes everybody, everyone outside the doors of this auditorium. As your months and years unfold, I'm going to confidently predict that you will have days of joy. There'll be ribbon cuttings and special tours and policy achievements. And with equal confidence, I will predict you will have days of misery with policy defeats and emergencies and, yes, memorial services. You will read stories you deem unfair, and if you're at all being objective, you will read stories that give you way more credit than you deserve. It's a different role for you now, from citizen to public servant. You were elected by your fellow citizens. And for my dollar, that's about the highest compliment anyone can receive. Your friends and your neighbors and people you don't know chose you, and they believed in you and your ability. And you won their vote in a free and fair election, thanks in no small part to Mary Hall and her team. And that's an exercise that we hold dear. Our American democracy is what takes you from being citizen to citizen and public servant. But even as we take the oath today, let us remember this. Let us take to heart and acknowledge in seriousness that there are people who are no fans of democracy and the rule of law. They will continue to do what they can to sow discord and plant seeds of doubt and division, and if we let them, they will win. The election process that you've all just been through, and some of us a handful of times, if we're honest, it's actually about accentuating the differences between ourselves and our opponents, right? I mean, it is only fair to give the voters as clear a choice as is possible. You choose from between us because you see what the differences are between us. Thus is as it should be. But now, my friends, you're entering the governing phase. And the governing phase is more about finding common ground, that which you agree on and can build upon. To the degree that discord and doubt and division have taken root and the results of the election process are not embraced as the consequence of a free, fair, open, and trusted election, well, then this governing process part gets real hard. It gets very hard. I am, frankly, for reasons that remain a mystery to me, often asked my advice about how to do all this. I tell newly elected officials that which I tell you today. Just these two things. Always be civil. No matter how provoked or strong the disagreement is, there is way too much Ann Hobbinen in American politics today. Way too much. And secondly, always look for common ground. Always be civil, always look for common ground. Pretty simple. Simple as it sounds, though, it's the farthest thing from. Democracy is difficult, and it's awfully hard work. Democracy will always look like a wall after you gave the toddler a red marker. Nonetheless, for all its ups and downs, this great, beautiful experiment known as American democracy has stood us in pretty good stead, these 240 plus years. I want to take you back to something I mentioned earlier. In a nationally televised hearing in March, I asked the Federal Bureau of Investigation director the following question, quote, that's kind of funny, quoting myself. Why should the American people care about Russia's active measures campaigned aimed at destabilizing our democracy and that of our allies, end quote? In his own response, in his own words, spontaneously given, I thought were amazingly instructive and powerful. Here's what he said. I truly believe that we are a shining city on a hill, to quote a great American. And one of the things we radiate to the world is the importance of our wonderful, often messy, but free and fair democratic system and the elections that undergird it. So when there's an effort by a foreign nation state to mess with that, to destroy that, to corrupt that, it's very, very serious. It threatens what is American, end quote. So there you have it. This is about patriotism. This is about open, fair, free, trusted elections. And you simply cannot advocate for free and fair elections while not also pointing to the results. So here I go. You are the results of our democracy. And now you've taken the oath, and you will work to make our community better tomorrow than it is today. Not just for the people who voted for you, but for every citizen, regardless of party or philosophy. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what we fight to protect. Thank you, God bless, and congratulations.
Thank you, Congressman Heck, for your words of wisdom and your service. So congratulations again to all of our elected officials, whether you're returning to office or starting new. Local elected office is one of the purest forms of democracy, and the decisions you make often have a much greater impact on the lives of your constituents than those made at the national level. No offense to any. The decisions you make will directly impact your neighbors and their quality of life. What will our children learn in school? How safe will the streets be where they walk, where they bike, where they play? How will Thurston County address some of its most pressing issues? These are the questions the public has, and they've put their faith in you to help provide answers. As you get ready to assume or resume your respective positions in local government, I will leave you with a final thought. Public service is the very American idea that we meet our challenges not as isolated individuals, but as members of a community with all of us working together. In a time of unprecedented polarization in our politics, your mission is to bring different voices together to build a common vision for the future of Thurston County. I hope for each and every one of you that your public service is meaningful and rewarding. This ends our celebration today, so I'd like you to join us in the lobby for refreshments and a chance to celebrate our newly elected and returning elected officials. But first, if we could have all the elected officials come to the stage, we'd like to get a group photo. So I'd like to thank all of you for coming today and celebrating this special day.